This is the Unstarving Musicians Podcast. I'm your host, Robonzo. The podcast... Hey kids, it's Robonzo. Happy holidays. It is Christmas Eve 2018, and I'm taking a little break again this week. It's the second one this year. One of my former guests, Vicky Ambinder, gave me permission to take a holiday break around Thanksgiving, so I'm just going to go with it again, and thank you for that, Vicky. It is a much-needed break. I'll be back with a new episode the first week of January, and in fact, just yesterday I spoke with Jamie Hill, who is a musician, producer, recording engineer, and the husband of Shannon Curtis, who was on the podcast this year. An amazing guy. We had a conversation that was extremely insightful for me. It lends a lot to music and a lot of things outside of music. I hope you will enjoy that episode when it comes up on the 4th of January, I believe. And Shannon Curtis was someone I waited to interview for a long time. She's just a few episodes back. You can search the website for Shannon Curtis and find her episode. She, in my mind, is the house concert tour queen. She has a lot of cool stuff to share about that topic. And it's a little break, but I wanted to take a moment to wish you a happy holidays and tell you how thankful I am to all of you who listen. And if you are a former guest, to you for spending time with me, teaching me things, sharing challenges that you've had, and with all of our listeners, it's very appreciated. And especially thanks, too, if you referred me to some of your talented friends who ended up as guests on this podcast, too. That really makes my life beautiful, easier. My good things that have been happening lately, I picked up some holiday gigs. I think it's honestly the first time in my life I've actually played some holiday tunes, which was really fun. It's something I've always wanted to do, but just never worked with the different artists and bands I've played with to plan ahead. But I worked with a guy this season who just ran with it by the seat of his pants, or we ran with it by the seat of our pants, and did two different benefit holiday gigs and whipped out some Christmas music. It was really nice, some holiday music. And I also started work on a subscription-based website product for you guys that'll be coming out next year. I hope it'll be something you can use. Season 2 for my other podcast, I've got some episodes in the can. That's going to spin back up in January. That's a business-related podcast called Partner for Leads Biz Podcast. And a lot of crossover there, because all you indie musicians and cover band weekend warrior people like subbing drummers, you're small business people just in your music world, and then maybe you run a small business on top of that. So I find a lot of interesting crossover in the two. It's fun to do them both. I've been healthy. I'm so happy, and I think the same is true for my wife. She's definitely been healthy, and she appears to be very happy. And I met so many cool people this year. As I mentioned earlier, who shared their expertise and their struggles with me and with you. The podcast is funny. I'll finish an episode at least once a month and think, man, I don't know if there may not have been much there for my listeners for the, trying to give you something you can use in your own music journey. And then I listen to it and I'm like amazed at the nuggets of knowledge that get dropped in them. And sometimes they're very obvious, sometimes they're subtle, but every conversation has been so enjoyable for me, and hopefully the same has been true for you. So I've been experimenting this weekend. You may be hearing a little background noise, including some holiday music. Instead of holing up in a dark little space that's somewhat sound treated, I'm just in the open air. I've got a window with a fantastic tropical breeze here in Panama on Christmas Eve, and it's beautiful outside, and it's kind of fun to podcast this way. So hopefully it'll sound as good as any others that I've done. So yeah, that's all I've got to say. Except, I reached out to a friend, a former bandmate. Oh man, I think it goes all the way back to around 2003. His name's Brian Crumrine. A great drummer who managed to herd cats in the form of about 8 other drummers to put together an ensemble called Groove Camp. And Groove Camp was something I got to be involved in. We played throughout the Bay Area at art and wine festivals, corporate events, and it was a lot of fun. the band recorded a couple of CDs, one before I joined them and one after I joined them. Now, I'm going to play a song from that, but qualify it and say that I didn't really do much work on the CD, but I performed all these songs and all the songs from their prior CD live, and I'm told that it's so funny, I don't really remember, I'm told that I did make an appearance for one of the sessions of the album that this song is coming from, that you're about to hear. That album is called Conundrum. And the track is Afribian Samba. Afribian Samba. Great tune, largely percussion, with a bunch of talented, really sweet people who I haven't talked to, most of whom I haven't talked to in quite a while. So if you just happen to have run across this podcast, I love you, miss you. But yeah, this is a nice tune. Yes, they tell me that I dropped in on a session to play clave or cowbell or clap hands or something. So I don't even know if I'm on this song, but it's very familiar to me. It's a really fun song. It's a samba. It'll make you want to dance. All right. Hey, see you in 2019. Hey, thanks for listening. Question for you. Are you struggling to move your music journey forward? I can help. If not personally, then by referring you to the next best available resources. Schedule a free 15-minute call with me to find out if I can indeed help you. It's easy. Just visit unstarvingmusician.com/coaching to schedule your call today. Look for links to just about everything covered in this episode in the show notes at unstarvingmusician.com/podcast. This episode was powered by the Unstarving Musician's Guide to Getting Paid Gigs, how to get booked and paid what you're worth over and over again. It's available on paperback, Kindle, and ebooks just about everywhere you can find them. It's also available as a standalone podcast called the Unstarving Musician's Guide podcast. You can learn more about the book and companion podcast at unstarvingmusician.com/book. I'd love it if you picked up a copy and would love it even more if you left a review. With much gratitude, peace, love, and more cowbell. Hey, it's Robonzo one last time. I know that sometimes people who listen to podcasts want to contact the podcast or the podcast host, ask a question, give some feedback. And I know a lot of times when we listen to podcasts, we're driving or running, and it just isn't super blah. It just isn't super convenient all the time. But I want you to know that you can go to unstarvingmusician.com, and right on the front page, if you just scroll down a wee bit, you can find a contact form and a phone number. You can text or leave me voicemail. You might even catch me live if you call or text me. And you can always find me on the socials at Robonzo Drummer, and there's also an Unstarving Musician's Facebook page, Unstarving Musician Podcast. You can contact me in any of those places, and I would love to hear from you. Ciao.